A very good day to all of you. Today we are going to continue the second part of grade 10 lesson 10 health and physical education lesson series. And the lesson is about overcoming challenges confronted in life. In this part of the lesson we are going to discuss about accidents faced in day-to-day activities. And here we have a big list of accidents. So we'll be talking about domestic accidents, accidents that can happen in the garden, road accidents, natural disasters, agrochemical accidents and food poisoning, animal attacks, war-related accidents, accidents due to social unrest, and work-related accidents. Domestic accidents means the accidents which can take place at home. So most of these accidents happen due to ignorance, carelessness, or due to mistakes. And therefore these kind of accidents can be prevented if you are acting properly, if you are taking care of your work, and if you are aware about what you are doing at a particular moment. So following are certain ways you can follow to minimize such accidents. One is being cautious when using sharp tools. So be cautious about the way you handle those tools and also be cautious about where you place them. And prevent small children from handling such sharp tools. So these sharp tools should be out of their reach. And refrain from using unsafe kerosene lamps. And if you are storing pesticides, acids and drugs, make sure they are stored in a particular place. They have an assigned place for these things, and also that they are out of reach from children. Maintaining electric wires and plug bases with proper covering. So make sure that the plug bases and electric wires in and around the house have their proper covering. And it's important that wells have their safety walls and fences because such places are dangerous, especially if you have kids at home. Keeping the surroundings of the wells is also important to make sure that the water that you consume from the wells are hygienic. And when you buy groceries, make sure that you check the date of manufacture, date of expiry, and those food has been manufactured with the proper standard. And if you have small children at home, make sure they are supervised and they are not kept alone. Following safety instructions while using equipment like gas cookers and electric appliances is also really important to prevent domestic accidents. The next topic that we are going to talk about is road accidents. Road accidents usually happen due to ignorance, carelessness and negligence of all road users. That means both drivers and pedestrians. If we think about the causes of road accidents, we can divide it into two as carelessness and ignorance or lack of proper maintenance. So carelessness means it's either the fault of drivers or the fault of pedestrians. So these are the two road users we have. And if it's about the lack of proper maintenance, it's either technical faults of vehicles or poor road conditions, or it could be a combination of both of them. If we think about some of the faults committed by drivers, sometimes they do not observe road rules, or they drive too fast, or maybe they are driving under the influence of alcohol. Maybe they have taken alcohol and then they are driving, which is also breaking the road rules. And if people are driving when they are tired or when they are under stress, that can also lead to road accidents. And if they park their vehicles in a way that they are obstructing traffic, that may also lead to road accidents. And it's really important that the drivers wear their seat belts, or if it's like in motorcycles, they have to wear the safety helmets. And then when it comes to pedestrians, sometimes they do not follow road signs. They are careless in that way. Sometimes, like especially if they are walking in the dark, and if they are wearing dark colored clothes when walking in the dark, they go unnoticeable. So it's important, if you are planning to go out, just go for a walk at night for some reason, on the roadsides, make sure that you wear something bright and light in color. And walking on the road in groups is also not good, and walking on the left hand side of the road is also wrong, because if you are taking the roadside, you have to walk on the right hand side. And some people just throw waste matter onto the road, that can also cause road accidents. Technical faults of vehicles when it comes to lack of proper maintenance. If there's a brake failure, or maybe dysfunctioning of the lamps, headlights or tail lights, and if the tires are in poor condition, that can lead to road accidents. And when it comes to poor road conditions, if the road signs and traffic signals are not properly displayed, it could be a reason. And if the roads are not properly maintained, that could also be a reason. Unsafely placed structures on roads. Sometimes there are electricity or telephone poles, sometimes the water supply systems, maybe structures of buildings. If they are unsafely placed on roadsides, it can also be a cause for road accidents. And lack of or dysfunctioning of the street lamps, that might also cause road accidents, especially at night. Next, we are going to talk about injuries caused by animal attacks. So in Sri Lanka, if we talk about our country, most of the injuries that are reported are due to snake bites, or maybe scratches or bites of animals like dogs, cats, and monkeys. Sometimes even insect stings by bees and wasps, they are also common. And the people who get subjected to these kind of attacks are either people engaged in farming, or mostly small children. There could be other types of populations as well, but mostly it's people engaged in farming or else small children. So animal bites and these insect stings, they can also be harmful, and sometimes they can even be deadly. So it's important that we know precautionary measures that can be taken to prevent animal attacks. It's important to wear safety boots, especially if you are in the farming field or doing something related to farming. It's important that you wear safety boots. And you can use a stick when walking outdoors. So when you keep tapping it on the ground, if there are any kind of snakes probably, or other types of animals, they might just get away. And carrying a torch when walking in the dark, walking with heavy steps, that's also like the same purpose of using a stick. And then refraining from inserting hands and legs into likely habitats of snakes. Ant hills, tree trunks, logs, bushes, and heaps of rubbish. Just don't try to insert your hands and legs. They are like any, but that's common sense. They are likely habitats of snakes, or could be any other kind of animal. So better to keep your hands to yourself. And then refraining from touching a snake even if it appears dead. That is again common sense. Keeping the home environment clean, it's important, so that you don't allow your home environment to become a habitat for animals, wild animals. If you keep it clean, then it's not going to become a habitat for wild animals. Positioning ventilation holes high in the walls so that snakes cannot slide through them. So these kind of things often happen in rural areas or maybe semi-urban areas. So positioning ventilation holes. So we have ventilation holes in houses. So it's better to position them high as possible so that snakes, they cannot slide through them. And checking pillows, mattresses and bed sheets before using them to make sure there aren't any insects or sometimes even animals like snakes in or around or maybe behind or hidden in them. Then there are agrochemical accidents. So these often happen when it comes to people who are engaged in farming because of the improper use of agrochemicals. That's the main cause. So sometimes these agrochemicals can enter a person's body without his or her knowledge. And they can also enter the human body by mixing with air and water and even through fruits and vegetables on which they have been used. Like if they have sprayed agrochemicals on fruits and vegetables or whatever the harvest, it can get into human body through food or else through air and water. So let's look at some of the instances of improper use of agrochemicals. So one is not following safety precautions. So some people, they just spray agrochemicals or maybe they just spread agrochemicals without wearing gloves and masks. So it's really important that they wear gloves, mask, and some of them are recommended to wear certain other kits as safety precautions. I mean, not only gloves and masks, there are so many other precautionary steps when it comes to a precautionary kit, a safety kit when spraying agrochemicals. And exceeding the recommended dosage. There's always a recommended dosage mentioned in the agrochemicals. So some people think, most of the farmers, they think if they use more agrochemicals on their plants, that is going to give them more harvest, which is not the case. So exceeding the recommended dosage means there could be residues of agrochemicals on whatever the foods that we are taking into our body. And then spraying agrochemicals just before the harvesting days. There's always a pre-harvest interval. That means there's a particular number of days before where they should stop spraying agrochemicals on the plants or the harvest. So even if they ignore it and spray agrochemicals on their plants or maybe their harvest just before the harvesting days, that's definitely going to get into somebody else's body. Spraying agrochemicals against the wind direction. If they are not considering where the wind is blowing, it might, if they're doing it against the wind, it's definitely going to blow on themselves. And then that is one way how they might inhale all those agrochemicals. So there are safety and health in the use of agrochemicals. They have to wear safety clothing like gloves, mask, helmets and footwear. And they have to make sure that they use the correct dosage and also refrain from taking any food while using agrochemicals. They can't eat and do the agrochemicals things at the same time. Also using only agrochemicals which have approved composition and standards, because some of the agrochemicals have been banned from the country. Therefore, like, they are banned for usage, and such things should not be used. Safe washing of the equipment. They have to make sure about the place that they are going to wash their instruments, all these things, because they can get into waterways and thereby into human body. Washing the body well after spraying agrochemicals is important, and also storing agrochemicals under lock and key. Make sure that they are stored safely and especially out of reach of small children. Then there are work-related accidents. So people face different types of accidents while they are engaged in work. So the nature of work, it depends. Maybe agricultural activities in mines, or maybe they are operating machinery. So these are like high risk jobs, and those are also like the places where more accidents can occur. So some of the commonly reported accidents are poisoning and accidents related to the use of machinery and electrocution. So poisoning means especially when it comes to people who are engaged in agricultural activities, or maybe those who are working in mines, they face accidents of poisoning. So poison can enter the body in a number of ways. Through the skin, they can be absorbed through the skin, or orally, that means maybe through drinks or food, and through the respiratory system, that means you are inhaling them in. And most accidents happen due to ignorance and lack of knowledge. So let's talk about the safety precautions in the next slide. And the next one is accidents related to the use of machinery. So these like if the workers are careless, ignorant, and if they are lack of knowledge about the safety precautions they should take, and if also like the machinery is in poor condition, if they haven't been maintained properly, such accidents can happen. So injuries due to such accidents could be cuts, bruises, and even death. Then there's electrocution, especially people who are involved in electricity. Even for people who use electricity domestically, in both ways, electrocution can happen. Let's look at some of the precautionary measures that can be taken to minimize work-related accidents. So one is follow safety instructions while using chemicals. We talked about that. If there's a safety kit, they should wear it. And there's always a safety kit, so they should make sure that they wear it before using chemicals. And provide facilities to workers. That means if it's a factory, the factory owners should make sure that they provide necessary facilities to the workers in terms of the provisions of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. This is a regulation, this is an act regulating the safety of workers. So the factory owners should make sure that they abide by the rules and regulations. Take proper care when using machinery, and one has to be really careful when they are using machinery. Use machinery of good quality and in good condition. That means they should be properly maintained. Provide sufficient training to workers on using machinery. The workers should be well trained. They should know how to use the machinery they should know in and out of the machinery. Proper maintenance of machinery, like we mentioned before, and raise awareness among workers on how electrical systems work. And also it's important that they know how to respond to a hazardous situation. So if they come across an emergency situation, how they should act and who they should be informing to. And then Also take measures to prevent workers from engaging in work when they are intoxicated. That means if they had taken alcohol, they should not be allowed to work. Sexual abuse is another type of thing that we are going to talk about. So people of all age groups, could be small children, could be adults, now they can be subjected to sexual abuse. And these acts may be committed by a stranger or even a close family member. So some of the examples of sexual abuse and other forms of abuse that a person might undergo are here in this list. So if we look at the types of sexual abuses are undue touching of the body, undue kissing and hugging, rape of women, child sexual harassment. Those are mostly sexual abuse. But there are also other forms of abuse, like employing children as servants. So children are not supposed to be employed, especially not as servants, not even specially, they are not supposed to be employed at all. It's considered an abuse. Depriving of opportunities for education of children, and causing shame, intimidation, physical harassment to people, and maybe tempting persons to use obscene material. So these are like other forms of abuse. Here you have a whole list of ways how you can avoid sexual abuse. So if I just skim through them, like you should never let anybody touch your body without your consent. You have to be assertive, that means you have to have the courage to talk for yourself and express your dislike, looking directly at the abuser's face bravely and decisively, that you can say, no, I don't like it. And if you come across any such circumstance, you have to go to a safe place or go to a safe person who can probably save you. If not, you have to shout for help immediately. And if you are alone at home, do not let others know that you are alone. You have to be very strategical in such situations. And do not go to any place on invitation by somebody without the knowledge of your parents. Be careful when keeping company with people, and refuse any gifts, food or money if offered by strangers. And you can keep your parents, guardian, teachers informed about all the types of associations you have. And if anything has caused you any harassment, also avoid going to desolate spots like isolated unknown places, and especially avoid going out alone at night. Under natural disasters, we are going to talk about cyclones, floods, and a few more disasters in the next few slides. So what can you do to, what are the precautions that you can adopt to mitigate the effects of cyclones? It's not like that you can stop a natural disaster. The only way is you can find strategies to deal with it or maybe avoid it. So it's important when it comes to cyclones, you can construct houses with strong roofs and remove dangerous trees which are close to houses and buildings. If you have trees around your houses or buildings where you live or like where you work, make sure that you get them removed. And also, if there's any kind of a cyclone warning, you have to move to a safe place, and cut branches of large trees like which lean towards houses and buildings. Lie on the ground or move to a place under a concrete roof. So I just want to emphasize the fact on a concrete roof. And refrain from making contact with broken down electric cables because it can cause electrocution. And then when it comes to floods, what are the precautions you can take? Facilitating good drainage of rainwater. That is when it comes to the roads. If the road systems have a good drainage system, it will facilitate the good drainage of rainwater. Refrain from constructing buildings in low-lying lands, river basins, or in areas close to the beach because they get flooded easily. Take measures to minimize soil erosion. Identify highlands which can be used for shelter during floods. So like emergency shelters, probably highlands when it comes to floods. Be alert on the water level of the reservoirs, like if you're somebody living closer to the reservoirs, especially during the raining season, you have to be alert on the water level and also the condition of the river banks and dams of reservoirs. And be mindful of early warnings, like the times of opening, the sluice gates and all. So those are like some of the precautions you can take regarding that. When it comes to landslides, when early signs of a landslide are noticed, you have to immediately move away from that area. So some of the early signs that you might notice are if there's a new crack in the surface of the slope. So like if you are living in an area with landslides, you obviously know what these things are. If there's a new crack in the surface of the slope, or if new cracks in buildings and widening of these existing tracks, or sometimes the subsidence of the flow of a building, or tilting of a tree to a certain side, and sudden appearance of muddy water on mountain slopes, unusual behavior of animals. And what is important, that means the types of precautionary steps you can take are identifying and minimizing the human activities which cause landslides, like improper cultivations, cutting down of trees, digging up of soil. So these are like types of human activities which can cause landslides. Reforestation, instead of that, people can start reforestation, start planting more trees. Constructing retention walls, constructing drainage systems, and then identifying landslide prone environmental conditions. That means all the things that we discussed here, these are landslide prone environmental conditions. That means what you notice in your environment which warns you that there's a landslide on the way. Moving away from relevant areas after identifying early signs of landslides. So once you identify them, you can move away from the areas, and also constructing buildings that are suited to the conditions of the land. So when it comes to earthquakes, we rarely have earthquakes in Sri Lanka. What people can do is moving to an open area where there are no buildings, because you have to save yourself from buildings, refraining from using elevators or lifts, and disconnecting electricity and gas supplies. If traveling in a vehicle, you have to stop the vehicle and get out of it and move to an open area where there are no buildings. And then if it comes to a tsunami, what people can do is, it's in the next slide. So for tsunamis, we have early warning systems in Sri Lanka. If you are given the warning, what you can do is you have to move to a safe high land away from the sea coast. And if it's not possible, like assuming that you might have not enough time to get to a safe high land, you can find a strong tall building and climb up to an upper floor. If it's like a low-lying area, one can climb up a tree. If somebody is traveling in a vehicle, they have to get out of it immediately and move to a safe place. If somebody is in a boat in the sea, they have to stay away from the coast as much as possible, because as you all know, the waves get larger and bigger when it gets closer to the coast. Being sensitive to behaviors of animals, because the animal behaviors change quite a lot. They sense natural disasters well before humans. I missed this point. Implementing tsunami disaster management programs in advance, right? If an unusual rise or receding of sea is noticed, maybe like assume that you are not getting any early warning. Anyways, if you see any unusual rise of sea, you have to move away from the coast into the inner land. Lightning is another common natural disaster in Sri Lanka. This is a more common one during rainy seasons and intermonsoonal rains. So during lightning, it creates an intense heat which can cause severe burns, sometimes shock and even death. So when there's lightning, what you have to do is always stay inside the building. Do not go to open areas like playgrounds, paddy fields or the beach. And also do not stay close to electricity and telephone poles. Stay away from them. And do not engage in activities like flying kites, catching fish, climbing trees or plucking fruits. That means one is you have to stay away from open areas. The other thing it implies is stop getting into higher places from the ground level like trees and all. Refrain from using metal tools like axes, knives and machetes, because metal they are like good conductors of electricity, so refrain from using them. Refrain from swimming and sailing, which means in open areas. Do not use electric equipment and telephones. If possible, remove plugs. If the electric circuit breaker is switched off due to lightning, do not switch it on until the danger has passed. Beside that, you can check functioning of the circuit breakers regularly to make sure that they are functioning properly and can save you when it comes to instances like lightning. And also install lightning conductors when it comes to very tall buildings and towers. So these are like some of the precautions that can be taken to mitigate the effects of natural disasters taken in overall. So one should be able to identify possible disasters well in advance. And if somebody is looking for a place to build a house, make sure that they select a safe place. And always it's best if one can keep some additional rations, dry rations, drinking water, medicine, first aid that can be used in case of an emergency. And also if somebody knows the contact details of obtaining certain services of public institutes like hospitals, the electricity board, maybe the disaster management center. Likewise, it's really great and it's important in case of an emergency. And also be sensitive to the changes of the environment, because animals and birds sense most of the disasters well before humans. And also be organized as groups in order to respond to emergency. It's better to work as a team to save yourself and to save others in case of an emergency. That brings us to the end of the lesson. We just have one more part to go and then we'll be finishing the entire grade 10 lesson series. So stay tuned and see you next time.